Okay, guys, a brief revision video on why direct rule was introduced in March 1972. So, direct rule was when Stormont was suspended and the British government took over control of Northern Ireland and ruled it from London. So, why was it brought in March 1972? Well, this was just after Bloody Sunday, and the British government were concerned about the deteriorating situation in Northern Ireland. What was pretty clear by March 1972 was that internment had not worked. The violence in Northern Ireland was getting worse. So the examples that you could use are Bloody Sunday, the rent and rate strike that the SDLP organised in response to internment. The IRA was getting more support. You had new paramilitary organisations like the UDA set up. You had sectarian murders. You had bombings and shootings increasing. And I think there was 4 times as many murders after August of 1971 than there had been before it. So internment really had made the situation worse. So this guy here, the British Prime Minister, Ted Heath, got in touch with the Northern Ireland government and said, look, we need control of security powers to be given over to Westminster. That's the London government. But the Northern Ireland government did not want to give up control of Northern Ireland. And that was the real sticking issue, okay? So the British government were forced to suspend Stormont and introduce direct rule from Westminster. And this guy here, William Whitelaw, became Northern Ireland's first Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. He was the government minister in London who was responsible now for running Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland now no longer had its own parliament. It no longer had its own prime minister. It was being ruled directly from London. Okay, another question that you could be asked about this is how people reacted to it. Well, obviously, loyalists were outraged by the loss of their parliament. They felt betrayed by the British government. There was a huge demonstration at Stormont. I have photographs of it here. And here you can see Brian Faulkner and his ministers speaking from the balcony at Stormont to this huge crowd of loyalists who have turned up to protest at the loss of what they saw as their parliament. Remember, Unionists had ruled Northern Ireland from Stormont for 50 years, and now this was gone. There was also another group who emerged around this time called Ulster Vanguard, set up by Bill Craig. And it was some of the things that Bill Craig was saying around this time were becoming very, very violent. I think I've got one of them down here somewhere. Yeah, here we are. So Bill Craig said at a meeting on the 18th of March, just before direct rule was introduced, he said, we must build up the dossiers or files on the men and women who are a menace to this country, because one day, ladies and gentlemen, if the politicians fail, it may be our job to liquidate the enemy. Liquidate the enemy. I mean, that's very powerful language, and sort of suggests that there could be a mass outbreak of violence from loyalists. Okay, so that's how the loyalists reacted. They weren't very happy with the introduction of direct rule. Nationalists, well, some were happy to see the end to Stormont. The SDLP in particular hoped that this would be a new start for Northern Ireland. The IRA, even though they had achieved one of their aims, which was to smash Stormont, vowed to continue their campaign until Britain leaves Ireland. So the IRA campaign continued, so no change there. And the civil rights movement vowed to continue their campaign for civil rights. So that's how the Nationalists responded. So there you are, guys. That's it in a nutshell, direct rule and why it was introduced and how people reacted to it.